Hello, everybody, and welcome to Entrepreneur Lives. Today we have Suzanne Doyle Ingram, a best-selling author who has written and co-written over 20 books. Suzanne coaches and trains business professionals on how to write, publish, and leverage a book to leverage their brand and business. Her programs and services help authors increase visibility, open speaking opportunities, and attract new clients and grow revenue. With a BA in linguistics, Suzanne brings a love of communication to her writing and publishing incentives. She speaks English, French, Japanese, and currently living in Mexico, learning Spanish. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. Welcome, Suzanne. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hola. Thank you
Yeah.
for inviting me to your show, Barry.
Wow, what can I say? Like all these languages and all, like, sure, look, I barely speak English. People can barely understand what I say in English, let alone any other language. Tell me about you and what brings you around the world from Canada over to where you currently are and everything else.
Oh my gosh. Well, how much time do we have?
As long as
Okay,
you want,
so
we
the
keep going.
reason I'm living in Mexico right now because of my kid. I'm a
Okay.
mom of three. I always say, my priorities are my health is first because I'm not going to be a good business owner or mom if I don't have good health. Health and then the kids and then the business. So,
Yeah.
and my partner in there too.
Yeah.
Um, but my son, we both hate the rain and the cold, and with COVID the school was just all messed up, and we weren't living the dream. Let's just put it that way. It was the opposite of living the dream.
Okay.
And he is a gymnast as well, and so we live in a little tiny town just outside of Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
And he had to commute into Vancouver 4 days a week, and he was just getting exhausted, and life wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I can work from anywhere, so why don't we just go somewhere else? And all these things had to happen to make it happen. Like, I kept thinking, is this really going to happen? I had to I had to rent out my house, and then I put all of my special belongings into one room and locked it up. And then the day before we got on the plane to come here, the tenant canceled.
Oh my God.
So it was just like, but I always say, you know what? This or something better. It's this
Yeah,
or something better.
for
So we
sure.
found someone else, and it's all good. It's fine. Um, we just decided to try. I feel like I have two older kids that have already left home. I got one
Yeah.
kid left at home, and I thought
Yeah.
I've always wanted to teach my kids to sort of, take life by the horns, right?
Yeah.
And just try things. They've seen me fail at things, but as long as you're safe,
Yeah.
and in this case, warm,
Yeah.
it's
Very much so compared
wonderful.
to my end anyway, for sure. So tell us then, like 20 books. Oh my God, like where did it all start? How did you, begin to do that? And then tell us about the insights in them.
Sure. Well, okay. First of all, I have to tell you, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
I don't even call myself a writer. I don't think I'm a very good writer. But what happened was I had a marketing company, and in 2008, all my American clients started thinking, oh, the economy is crashing. I don't know if I want to spend any money on marketing anymore. So by 2009, I was still limping along. By 2010, I was like,
Right.
I am broke this anymore. People are not paying their bills, and I can't live like this. So I thought, all right, what are we going to do? And this is when Amazon just first started letting people self-publish books.
Right.
And I thought, I'll write a book. But I was totally afraid. I felt like when I went through the 2008, 9, 10 stuff, I felt totally alone. I didn't know all the business owners were going through the same thing. I thought I was just a big fat loser that didn't know what she was doing. So I was so insecure and so afraid
Yeah.
that I wrote my first book under a fake name because I thought it would totally fail, and I didn't want anyone to know that it was
Yeah.
me. And it was literally I picked a trendy topic. I picked gluten-free recipes, which I was on a gluten-free diet. So I thought,
Yeah.
okay, this will be fine.
Yeah.
And it became a bestseller because
Wow.
I knew a thing or two about marketing, right?
Yeah.
And I knew it was a trendy topic and people want it, and I positioned it right and chose the right categories and all that stuff. And then I wrote 6 more books that year.
Wow.
But I was exhausted because I was writing from 10 at night until midnight after the kids were all in bed, and I did the
Yeah.
laundry and washed the floors and all that crap you do. um, I have a housekeeper now.
Right.
So
Very good.
I have
Thanks for doing that. More time for writing. Yeah.
I know, right? So, but what I realized, Barry, this is the most important thing, is that I realized that it was exhausting trying to sell books because I'd have to be, I was like a gerbil on a wheel going, okay, how am I going to sell books today? I need to get them up on the bestseller list. And then more eyeballs get on them and I make a few sales and then it falls down again.
Yeah.
And I just hated that life. I was like, this is not what I want to be doing, like blogging and tweeting and begging people to buy my book. And so I wrote a book called See Jane Grow for women entrepreneurs on how to establish yourself as an authority. And that book completely failed. I didn't sell any copies. I mean, I maybe sold 10 or something. Like barely anybody bought it. I couldn't make it a bestseller. It was like a real struggle. But what happened as a result of that book was I got a contract from a nonprofit organization that hired me to work with women-owned businesses.
Wow, very good. Yeah.
It was a 5-month contract. And I got a couple more contracts that year. And then my accountant told me at the end of the year that I made more money with those contracts than all book sales combined. And I went, oh, okay. Okay. So the money's not in the book sales. The money is in what the book can do for you.
Yeah.
That's my story in a nutshell.
That's the key. So tell me then, look, when you talk about books, I'm sure there's lots of people out there, same as me. I wrote 3 books. When I first started, I always say, look, I say it every time. I was an unconscious competent. I was very successful in my business. I didn't know how I did it. But about 5 or 6 years ago, I partnered with Bob Proctor in Canada. I went over to Canada several times, yeah. And he taught me all about how the mind works and, your awareness and stuff. And all of a sudden it was, oh my God. So as I said, I wasn't joking when I said about the English. Some people can't even understand what I say in English. And if I was ever going to write a book, it was never going to happen. But he taught me to, believe in yourself and allow yourself to believe in what you can do. So I've since written 3 books, but I have been that person where the first book I thought, oh my God, I'm going to give this all and, put my life story in it and it's going to be a bestseller. It didn't happen. And I was extremely disappointed, but it's okay. Then I wrote a second book. When I say I wrote, somebody helped me. But then I decided, no, I didn't even publish it. I just put it out there or whatever. And then I did a third book. But I haven't put that out yet. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I know there's probably lots of people similar to me. First of all, afraid to do it. Okay. Second of all, not knowing that they're good enough to do it. And the third one is then not knowing how to do it. So in other words, how to do that. So if you can sort of give us a little bit of guidance or a bit of help on that.
Yes, absolutely. I would love to, because I hate seeing people suffer, and people really do suffer when they try to write a book because they beat themselves up over it. Well, I should know how to do this. Well, I don't know how to do my own car mechanics. I could learn it, but I don't know how. I don't do my own dentistry. So it's totally okay that you're not born knowing how to write a book. And I should say for people listening that I help people with nonfiction books. So business type of how-to books, self-help books. I'll like everything from I've done some cookbooks for nutritional or nutritionists and that kind of thing, but work mostly with coaches and entrepreneurs and real estate agents and chiropractors. And I really like natural health. So I like working with those sorts of people. But you have to, before you even think about writing a book, there's foundational things you need to do first. So you're writing it with intention. And I love that you mentioned Bob Proctor, right? And that's who you're talking about, Bob Proctor, right? Yeah. So like just setting the intention of what you want, like just calming down, not trying to rush into writing a book. Many people write a book without an outline and without any intention whatsoever. And they just truly believe that their story is so fascinating that it will be like Eat, Pray, Love, and they'll make it into a movie and they'll be able to retire in 5 minutes. So that's not how it works. So what we want is I make people, my clients, first of all, it's totally normal to not believe that you're good enough to write a book. I still suffer from that. I was telling my students yesterday, like I still have imposter syndrome. And I have to go into my computer and look at the files of all the people I've helped. And I'm like, oh, I remember Kevin. He really loved working with me. I remember Barbara. And, it's so stupid. But think about what you want your book to do for you. It's really important, right? Then you think about, why are you writing this book? What is your reason? Is it because you want to change the world? Is it because you want to make your parents proud of you? Like, there's no wrong answer. Why are you writing the book? And then who are you writing it for? When the chiropractor said to me, anybody with a spine, I said, that is not, no. I know that makes sense from your point of view for sure, because you want to help every single human being and even animals with spines. But let's look at it this way. pays the most money to your business? Let's look at your last 10 best clients. Who are they? She realized it was moms with kids, and she loves working with kids. So she focused her book around that, right? And then you've already got your ideal clients being attracted to your business. So I really, really think that it's so important, first of all, to have somebody guide you through it. And it's got to be the right coach. I'm not the right coach for everybody. Some people that want to write like a spiritual memoir book should go to somebody else, because I don't know how to do that, right? Or a romance novel. I don't know how to do that either. So having intention on what you want your book to do for you, and then someone who will guide you through what exactly do you need to include in your book to make sure that your reader is going to be connected to it. I've always got the reader hat on. Like this morning, I had a meeting with an author who said, "Here's my title." And I went, know that I love you. And that's not a good title, because the reader is like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And not in a good, curious way, in a, I don't think that's for me sort of way. So that's my job. I always say to my clients, my job is to make you look good. You know, so I can be a little bit tough love sometimes. But I think it's a shame, getting back to your question, when people write a book without intention, and it ends up, it doesn't really represent them well, and it doesn't attract the people that they want to attract, and their clients are just kind of confused by it.
What's the best tip, I suppose, you can give somebody? Because, you know, when you see people, as we said, like about they want to write a book, maybe they're a bit afraid, but let's say we have somebody that, look, and we know, like, I like what you said, you're so right. I have to talk to so many people about, and they talk about a book and they talk about the contents, and it's going to be a bestseller because of their story. But like what you said, you've got to build a foundation and the framework to suit what people want to buy, not what you think they want to buy. Because people don't necessarily be interested in your story, you know, what you have to tell. Even though it is quite interesting, it just might not sell. But when we talk about, say, somebody that has got to the stage where maybe they have an idea, maybe they have a book, and maybe it is in a niche, and maybe it is going to be a bestseller, but they're still on the fence a bit. Like, what would you say to an entrepreneur that's in that position?
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of the things you just said, I want to comment on those too. What would I say? I think it's really important for them to think about their business. The book can showcase who they are and what they stand for. So when a new prospect is reading their book, they go, oh, I like this person. I want more of this person. Think of yourself as a highway, and you have on-ramps on how people find you. Someone might find me today on this podcast. The podcast is an on-ramp. Your book is an on-ramp. It's just an asset. It's only one asset. It's only a thing. It's a bunch of paper stapled together. It's not that big of a deal. And so when you think, I think what's important is to show your reader how you help people. You know, one exercise I make my clients do is think about write a list of worries that your client has. You know, like when some people, they say things like, well, I help heart-centered people find their true soul belly button, or whatever they say, right? I'm like, who is lying in bed at night going, I want to find my soul-centered, heart-centered belly button? Like, this is just ridiculous, right? So it's like, they want to make money, they want to lose weight, they want to find their true love, whatever it is, right? And so when, like, for example, for me, I would write a list of people saying things like, I don't know how to get published, I don't know if I'm good enough to write a book, my 12th grade English teacher said I was stupid, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to put myself out there because people might think I'm stupid, or all these worries that they have, right? And then when I think about my reader, I think, how do I want my reader to feel? Because that's just the kind of person I am. But we want to basically deliver value in this book for the reader. Ask yourself, what's in it for the reader? And I have to say to people sometimes, the story about the time that you and your husband went to Hawaii, that's great, but what's in it for the reader?
For sure.
People, believe me, about 10 times a week, people send me their books and go, hey, this is a special gift for you, please read it. And I think, okay, I'm already reading 150 books a year, so I have to be very, very, very careful with my time. The one thing I can't outsource is reading books, right? And so when you're give your reader, potential person, your book, you're basically saying, I'd like you to give me 5 to 10 hours of your time. So it better be good. And
Yeah.
I don't just mean like lyrical, beautiful writing. I mean good stuff in
Yeah.
the book. Is
Interesting.
it helpful? Is it
Yeah.
so, so that's but I also want to say one more thing, Barry. Is when you mentioned something about your book could be a bestseller and all that kind of stuff. Well, again, that goes back to selling books.
Yeah.
But I want to give you a little illustration of somebody that was in one of my programs. Her name's Ellie Dooley. She wrote a book about how to help kids get into college, the
Yeah.
college admissions guide, I think it was called. Anyways, she ran a Facebook ad and said to parents of teenagers in her state of Maine, she said, would you like a free copy of my book? Anybody who clicked on the ad put in their name, their mailing address, and their phone number. And then I taught her how to like phone them up and say, oh, you live on Main Street. I'm going to be in the area tomorrow. Can I just drop off the book for you? Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Well,
Yeah.
she had to turn it off. She got too many leads. For her to have 5 or 10 new clients a month is really all she can handle because she's working with these families one-on-one.
Right. Okay.
Who cares about selling books at that point? Doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
And she doesn't need to sell any books because she's already made a really, really significant income from the clients that she's getting.
Yeah, no, that's good. Look, it is that it really is about marketing, and as you said, it's not about selling books, and people get hung up about selling. You know, I only sold, like, I think on my first day I sold 80 or something like that. But was that disappointing?
That's good.
Yes, it was. But when I think about it, it wasn't that disappointing, really. You know, but
80 books is a good. The average business book only sells 200 copies altogether.
all right, okay. Well, maybe I cheated a little bit. Maybe I got family and friends to buy, so I
Yeah,
have to
that's
be honest, you
okay.
know. I wish it
That's
was
okay.
80 people that, wanted to
Well,
read all
yeah.
about me, but probably not.
And you're Irish, so you probably have a huge family, like I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not that big. They probably didn't want to read my story anyway, because it was all about like my unconscious competence in 25 years, which I'm
Oh
really
yeah,
interested
yeah.
in. So no, but look, no, I'm fascinated by the whole book thing as well, because I see it with Amazon and I see the best selling. And in fact, the amount of people I'm connected through and the Bob Proctor, a lot of them go for books and bestsellers, and it's like a competition. So, of course, I couldn't shout from the roof from mine, but some of them do. But it is fascinating. It certainly is fascinating. And the people that get to do the best selling, yeah, fair play. At the end of the day, congratulations. They work hard to get there, and it does take a lot of effort. But when we talk about books, it's not as difficult to write as people may think. Would you agree with that, or would you disagree?
I agree with that. Absolutely. If you have a plan, if you can speak to your clients, like if you have a strategy session or you have a consultation that you do with them, then you can write a book, because basically all the things that you say to a new client is what's going to go in your book.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
sure.
I mean, it has to be.
What in your opinion would be I suppose, the better books? I know we talk about fiction, non-fiction, business, psychology, and blah blah blah, it goes on. But in your opinion, what do you think? Because obviously you're dealing with people every day that are writing books and sending books to you. But what would you recommend to somebody to be the best type of book to go for, to write?
Well, it depends on your industry, but I would say even for my realtors and chiropractors and coaches and financial people, it's really a how-to book.
Yeah.
You don't have to give all of the how. I think what I like to say is, what is it? Why does it matter? And
Yeah.
here's a few tips on how to do it, right? When you're in that sort of profession, when you think about like a staircase, some people call it like the ascension ladder. The first step for them to see you, usually it's free stuff like an article on LinkedIn or something. But the next step for them to get closer to you is your $20 book, right? It's a small investment for somebody to make to kind of see who you are, right? And I highly recommend putting in what I call inspirational stories that illustrate a client that came to you. This is where they were, you worked together, and then this is a transformation that occurred as a result of working with you. Because then you have social proof. This isn't just you, blathering out of your armpit. This is like other people have worked with you, and the reader goes, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I want to work with her too. Let me see what the next step on that ladder is. Is it a course? Is it working one-on-one? In the case of a health practitioner, maybe they make an appointment and come and see you, or they sign up for 6 sessions or whatever. So I think of it like I teach my clients something that I call the reader journey. It's like a
Yeah.
customer journey, but it's the reader journey. You want your reader to feel supported and comfortable. And you're basically saying, here, let me take care of you. Put your arm around them. Let me take care of you. I'm going to show you the way,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Guide them.
just reassuring them. And
Yeah, yeah,
that sort
very good. Look, when we look at again, when we look at writing books and people put their stories forward, I think it's very much a case of that. Some people feel that it's necessary to delve into it, and probably too much. And I love that tip where you've said it's important to talk about your experiences, what you've done, what transformation you've had with somebody or whatever. Now, I know there are lots of people that maybe have left a job or the corporate world and they've moved into, coaching, consulting, or whatever business they're in, and they don't have clients say yet. What would you suggest that goes into the book at that stage? Because obviously
of.
we don't want them to lie. We don't want them to say they're doing something that they didn't do,
No,
because then they're never going to get results and they're never going to get success. But what would you
yeah.
recommend in that stage?
Well, you can't, yeah, you absolutely cannot lie.
Yeah.
So what you could do is pull in case studies of sort of well-known companies. Like I do a lot of cybersecurity books as well.
Yeah.
I publish them, I don't write them.
Yeah.
And so some of my IT people, they'll talk about the case where, this pipeline got hacked, and it's a public case, right? So you could bring that in. And with a new coach, like if somebody leaves corporate and they want to start coaching, I have a few clients like that. What I say to them is, can you develop a system and create a language around it? So what if you say to your clients, I'm going to put you through the Thrive system. The T stands for, I don't know, I'm terrible at the acronyms. I always get all my clients to make their own, but T stands for transformation, and the H stands for whatever, howdy
Yeah.
doody, or whatever you want the steps
Yeah.
to call. And then so you can even like create your whole thing around this. You can have a
Yeah.
signature talk around the Thrive system. You can have your book. You can have an online course or whatever. But the thing is, you have to stick to it. If you pick it, you keep it for at least 2 or 3 years. You have to keep that thing. You can't be like, oh, I tried it, didn't work. Well, you tried it on 2 people. Other thing is you can get beta testers. So I've done this with some of my courses where I say, listen, here's the thing. I'm putting together a course. It's going to be $995.
Yeah.
I'll let you in for $200, but you have to give me constructive criticism at the end and a testimonial. And then when I really launch it, I've got 10 or 20 testimonials there, right? And I've also made the course better, So
Yeah.
some people can give away their coaching for free. Maybe they'll say to a business associate, I'm starting a new practice. Can I coach you for 5 sessions and give me a testimonial, or let me put you through my thing and give me your feedback? So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's really good. The other thing I found as well with a lot of people is that they tend to go down the road of um not being confident in their own ability to sort of do it for free. And I always say to them, look, it's it just get the result. Promise the result, get the result, give the result, and then you've got the testimonial. And it's like what you said,
Yes.
bring them through that journey, and then it makes it all so much better that you don't have to go on to AI now and try and come up with some case study that's non-existent. You're just following
Yes.
through. But what other tips, I suppose, could you give people for writing a book, or if they were interested in writing a book?
One of the tips I usually give and is to be sure to include points of credibility and points of vulnerability. And
Mhm.
I think why I like explaining this is because some people, not my students, some people write a book that's literally full of vulnerability. And they say, let me tell you about these 95 horrible things that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so it's very sad that people have had horrible things happen to them. But I think that type of book is the type of book that you write for cathartic purposes, and it doesn't need to be published because it's just way too much for people,
Mhm.
right? So when you have credibility, what happens is you have what I call actual and perceived credibility. So your actual credibility, like you have a degree in linguistics or whatever, like,
Yeah.
or you have, I've helped over 1,000 people write and publish books, or whatever those pieces of credibility are. you also want to have vulnerability balancing that out, because if I don't add any vulnerability, what happens is you just look like, oh, everything's easy for you, Suzanne.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're like this amazing writer, which I am totally not, and you know, you have it all so easy and you're successful, blah, blah, blah. But I want to be able to also say, look, my first book was written under a fake name. Okay. Like, I
Yeah.
know what it's like to be afraid. I'm afraid all the time. I just do it anyways, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it also, not only does it make you likable and trustable, but it make trustworthy, I should say, not trustable, trustworthy. It makes the reader either feel attracted to wanting to more from you if
Yeah.
you're the right fit, and just as good, they can be repelled, which
Yeah.
is good, because you might as well get rid of them now if they're not going to be into you. You know, I'm
I
not
know.
everybody's cup of tea, but you know, for those who do like my style, then it's a perfect fit. So I think it's very important to really be yourself in your book. What
Yeah.
my latest book that I just wrote, I gave it to my partner. He goes, I don't know. He's Dutch, so you know
Right.
how they are sometimes. He's like, it's kind of weird. It sounds like you're talking to me, and I go, that's the point.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it's more personable and approachable to the reader,
Yeah.
as opposed to, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Look, Suzanne, it's been a pleasure. I've loved all the tips that you've shared, about books. As I said, I've been that person on the other end, so I'm aware of it. Where could people get in contact you, and how, if you could share that?
Sure. They can go to my website at prominencepublishing.com. And on there, we've got some free information. They can book a strategy call with me if they want to get right on my calendar. It's on the section that says how we create best-selling authors. You'll be able to find it. And other than that, I'm the only Suzanne Doyle Ingram in the world. So you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. I've got some free Facebook writing groups as well. So just reach out to me and we'll get hooked up.
Fantastic. It's been a total pleasure. I've really enjoyed that, learning more about the whole insights to books, and thank you very much for it.
Thank you so much for letting me talk about my favorite thing.